Oh my god, some of the annotations I wrote in this book are so out of pocket, it's hilarious. Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about how I annotate books. First, let me apologize for the setup and lighting. I don't really know what's going on. It's really cold in my house for some reason. I think we're having a cold front where I live, so I have a blanket. I wanted to film this video mostly because I want to show you my annotating journey. Today we're just going to go through annotation style, how it's changed over the years, how it varies depending on the book I'm reading. So I've got a stack of books with me, all books that I have annotated. This is my annotation jar. This is where I keep all my annotation supplies and book supplies when I'm annotating or reading a book. First, I use a few different highlighters. I haven't found highlighters that I really prefer to use yet. I'm still on the hunt, so if you have any recommendations for good highlighters, please leave those in the comments. But right now, I have this Crayola marker. These Crayola markers I use a lot. I have a lot of different colors of them. I've also got these highlighters. I've got a purple, a blue, and a pink. These are the colors of the bisexual flag. That does not mean anything. That was completely coincidental. But you know, we support. They're just the prettiest colors. There's like a neon yellow and a neon green, and I don't like those ones, so I don't use them. Then we've got this book light that my friend got me for my birthday, but I keep that in this jar as well. I've got a pen. It's a Papermate 1mm, I think. But this is just a pen that I found, and this is what I use currently. It's also what I use to journal. It's just, I use a pen until it dies, and then I find a new one that I like, and then I use it until it dies. So this is the one I currently use. Then we have my tabs. I have a lot of different kinds here. There's nothing specific. So I've got these post-it ones. And they are see-through so that when you put them on the page you can see the words through the tabbing. But I really just buy whatever tabs that are cheapest and that I find at the store. Annotations for me are more about the writing than the actual tabs that I use or the supplies that I use. So we just go with what we can find. By we, I mean me. First annotation style we're going to go over is no annotations. There is nothing written down in this book. I typically don't annotate books that I'm just reading for my entertainment. I'm not trying to get anything out of this book. It's not a sequel, it's not a series. So I don't annotate them because I don't feel like I need to get anything out of this book. It's just entertainment. Just know that it's okay not to annotate every book because not every book you're going to have thoughts about. No in-depth thoughts equal no annotations for me. So I don't annotate a lot of romance books, and that's okay. Just thought I would mention that not annotating is also a conscious choice that you make when reading a book. Now we're going to start with my first type of annotation, the one I kind of started out slowly with. It's kind of more just for quotes or just for cute little moments that I notice, but it's not something I really need to analyze. Crooked Kingdom, Caraval, and Stalking Jack the Ripper are all books that I annotated in my very beginning phase of annotation. There was no highlighting in these, pretty much never any comments or written down my thoughts, basically just underlining and mostly underlining quotes. That's why there are so few tabs. It's a very amateur version of my annotations. Same with Caraval, my very beginning stages. This one I didn't even tab. I just have underlines and small comments throughout. This one I wrote, "Oh no," on page 205. Very minimal annotations. I also read this book in one sitting because I loved it so much. So these were kind of like middle of the night random thoughts that don't really make sense. Same for Stalking Jack the Ripper. In this one, I have again minimal underlines, very few comments, mostly quotes, literally 5 tabs total. So again, this was very minimal annotation. This is what I started out as. Then we move on to more advanced annotation. Still not my full version of annotation now. This is a poetry book called Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur, and I tabbed this one more in depth, but my actual annotations were mostly just highlighting of the lines in this book that I liked, like the best poems, and tabbing the best poems in this book. I did write a few thoughts in the beginning, but I didn't feel like writing thoughts for every single poem. Again, pretty amateur annotations. This is a book I'm reading currently called Soundbite by Sarah Hubertson, and this one is just highlighting and tabbing. This is something I'm reading with my mom. I didn't write any in-depth thoughts because I'm kind of using this as I'm doing my college process. I haven't said this before, but I don't typically color code my tabs. I didn't really do that for this book. I kind of did whatever color I wanted except for green. Green I tabbed where there is extremely useful information that I want to come back to and or activities, because this book does have activities that you can kind of fill out. So if there was an activity, I would tab the top of the book so I could easily see where I needed to go back to. Pretty simple annotations, but it is something I'm doing currently. But this just shows that you don't need to annotate every book super in depth. You can really adjust your annotation style depending on the book and why you're reading it. And then lastly, we have my fully fleshed out annotation style, which I only have an example of in 2 books, because honestly sometimes annotating is exhausting when you're reading. I don't always feel the need to annotate super in depth on every single book, so I've only done it twice. Actually, probably more, but I just was too lazy to go through all my books and find out which ones I annotated because I forgot. But the first example is the last book in the Percy Jackson series called Last Olympian by Rick Riordan. And as you can see, I tabbed the heck out of this one, probably to where it's not even useful to me at this point. This one I did not color code. I typically don't like color coding. For me, it doesn't work, but for you it might, and that's okay. I wrote comments, I underlined. I don't know if I highlighted, I'm gonna be honest, I might not have highlighted. Fun fact, I actually made a reading vlog for this book on my old booktube channel that actually used to be this channel, and I think I deleted the video. But I was in like 8th grade, and I wish I still had that video, but I just don't, because I think I deleted all of them, so I didn't want anyone to find them when I was going into high school. But yeah, I just tabbed the heck out of this one, wrote comments. My handwriting was super disgusting and messy, so I can barely read what I even wrote. This is super funny to go back through, and this is one of my favorite series, so I had a lot of comments to make. This is kind of what my annotation style looks like. It's very messy and crazy and doesn't make a lot of sense to people other than me, and sometimes it doesn't even make sense to me. Annotating is just for your enjoyment and your better understanding of a book, so make it fun, make it your own. This book is very chaotic, as were my thoughts in this book, so you know, it's okay. Then the next book that I fully annotated is the first book in the Crescent City series, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. And this one I annotated in depth because I had the audiobook. It's a huge monster of a book, and I was like, I know I'm gonna have trouble keeping up. We really went flat on this one. This one I actually did color code, and the reason I color coded this one is because it's such a huge book that if I didn't, I would never know what to look at. Also, my annotations for this one are not very sophisticated. It's very much like me like cursing out the characters. Oh my god, some of the annotations I wrote in this book are so out of pocket, it's hilarious. But my color code in the front for character moments, I have pink and red. For quotes, I have blue. For world building, I have green and yellow. Purple for tidbit. I didn't know the word for it at the time I read this, but foreshadowing. Orange for humor or a comment that I felt the need to make. In this one, I do have color-coded highlighting, and I went through actually 3 pink highlighters during this book. Oh, and I have the spicy scenes in red sticking out very far. So if you like see the edge of this book, you can see like the pink and red tabs sticking out super far, and was like, these are important. So I stuck the tabs out farther than the other ones. I was having so much fun with this one. It made my experience reading it so much more fun, and even though this series isn't something that I really broke down to analyze, I kind of just did it for my personal enjoyment, and I loved it. It was great. I totally recommend annotating if you think that it'll work for you. If you don't do it. But this kind of video is just me rambling about annotating, so I hope it kind of made sense, like somewhat, and I hope this mic is still working good. Go check out my other videos on my channel if you'd like. Go check out my socials down below. I have my Goodreads linked there if you want to follow my reading on a more day-to-day basis. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one.